I'm okay. I did that bit right. Dan, thanks so much for joining us. You're here because you've written this amazing book, and not only that, you were so gracious with your time and really supported our team last year as part of D21. And I thought it would be just so nice if you could just come back for 5 minutes or so just to jump into D22, which is, so, it's a year since we saw you almost to the day. And since then, you've written this wonderful book that's a bit of a Bible for me. I love it. And it'd be just great to hear a little bit about, your thoughts, how this book would help us as educators. And then the other thing is, I know that just today or yesterday, you've recorded it as an audio book too.
Yeah, the audio book is actually released today. I didn't record it today. It took a few days before Christmas.
Sorry. Released today.
6 hours of me droning on. Could you imagine that? 6 hours of me. But yeah, it's actually released today. So wherever you get audio books, and I do know that if you get a trial of Audible, you can get the book for free. So there's a bit of a bonus there, I guess. Thanks for the invite. And I'm so pleased that the book, you found it worthwhile, because that was I guess my overarching aim was to provide a useful book. So in my experience, I've found lots of books can be thought-provoking, lots of books can give aha moments, but then we sort of go back to business as usual. And so what I've tried to create here is I've tried to create a series of coaching sessions, really, where there's hopefully hopefully there are some aha moments, but then I try to sort of nudge you in the direction of forming an intention around that. And then once you decide, if you decide to do something around whatever the theme of the chapter is, then giving you some small steps that you can start moving on, it's kind of straight away. So it's very much based on my coaching framework of insight, intention, and action. So trying to get the sweet spot of all those three. A lot of the time we have two of the three. So a lot of the time we have an insight and an intention. We just don't know what to do. We don't know how to act. Sometimes we have the insight and the action. So someone tells us we need to do something different. They tell us what to do, but we don't want to, so we don't have the intention around it. And the third two of the three is when you know exactly what you want to do and you're doing it, but you don't have the insight of how it's impacting other people, or the unintended consequences of your actions. So as I say, it's my attempt to try and distill different ideas into coaching sessions for people, so they can read the whole book or dip into certain chapters. That's the idea.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool that you can actually, you don't have to read it as a whole, or that, although it makes sense to read it as a whole, but you can actually just dip into the areas. For example, one of the challenges for us at times is to have some of those difficult conversations with colleagues. And I thought the reference to the accountability dial was really useful. I think that is something that educators can really make use of. Yeah.
So that the chapter on accountability and there's a couple of chapters which talk or try and address this challenge of having difficult conversations.
Yeah.
And one of my mantras in it is, well, let's stop, have less difficult conversations by having more adult ones. So it's like being able to, before we start, one of the biggest challenges about holding people accountable is that we assume that they know what we want them to do. And we make this assumption because they're educated professional adults who have all got qualifications and degrees, and they're getting paid to do a job. And we assume that should be enough for them, just do your job. And obviously, we see this on a daily basis where they don't. So actually doing a lot of work in, at the beginning of a new team forming, or at the start of a new year or a new term, or any temporal milestone, any moment in time which is appropriate to hit reset and start talking about, okay, well, how are we going to do the work? It's not enough just to get your programs in on time. It's not enough just to, you know, teach the lessons, but how are we going to do this? And let's get really clear on what we accept, what are the norms in this team. And then once people have agreed to that, then it's so much easier to hold them accountable to it. Until then, you're just trying to, it's like trying to put toothpaste back into the tube. You know, the behaviors come out and it's like, oh, is it that big a deal? Should we bring it up? Nah, they'll probably realize, you know, maybe I don't need to speak to them. It's only a little thing. And it just gradually gets worse and worse and worse. And then you start feeling worse and worse because you know you're complicit in that because you're not brought it up. And it's just, yeah, it's a bit of a snowball scenario. So there's a couple of chapters there which really dig into, well, how do you set team norms in a sensible way? You know, you're not trying to prescribe everything that they do, but how do you set team norms? And then how do you hold people accountable to that using the dial that you mentioned that keeps me accountable? So Michele, if you see me doing something and you use the dial and say, right, well, I'm at step 1 with Dan, which means next time I see it, I have to go to step 2. I can't let it slide because that, you know, it's a tool to hold yourself accountable as well as to where you are in conversations with people. And it works just as well at home, you know, with your own kids and anything like that. That's the other gist of the book, is trying to write something which can resonate in wherever you are, you know, at home or at work, as a teacher, a leader, a parent, a partner. You know, so yeah, is
that why you wanted to record it with your voice? I mean, was that why did you do that?
Well, the publisher, so I actually had to audition to read my own book, which I thought was quite funny. But then when the publisher heard, because there's certain turns of phrase in the book which are it's like how I speak. So the publisher was quite keen on it, but it still had to go past the audio publishers. It had to pass them, like, do I enunciate clearly enough, for example? And I did, but the reason I wanted to do it was it's actually from my own experience of reading of listening to audiobooks, of which I've only listened to a few, but I've noticed I prefer listening to the author. I don't know why. There's probably no objective reason. It's just a purely subjective thing. I like listening if the author's reading it, there's probably little turns of phrase, little inflections, little things that someone who doesn't know the origin story of where that narrative has come from, they might miss. So, and there's a lot of, as I say, I've tried to sort of lace this with a little bit of my humor. So if you know me, if, you know, there are people who know, you know, there'll be some people who know me really well who they're the only people who get the joke. Like everyone else, it just passes over. But you know, I just wanted to.
I think I can hear your voice a bit. I can hear it. I can hear your voice in this for sure. The other thing that I'm just going to say now, and then obviously, if anybody else has a question, when I went to school, you know, you get your textbook, and I loved my books, so I've kept them. I've kept books that I had, you know, all the way back, and I have them underlined and highlighted and little notes and whatever. Intentionally, you've added that into this book.
Yeah.
You've actually encouraged us to write in it.
Yeah.
Was that because you want us to really reflect? That's part of that reflective practice, isn't it?
So there's 2 reasons. One, if you write in it, you can't lend it to a friend, so they have to buy their own copy. But that's not the reason. That's not the reason.
Good one.
That was only a secondary reason that I realised, oh, that's really smart, actually. But the real reason is even when we're doing any kind of workshop we do, we take hard copy stuff. So we want people to write, and the reason we want people to write is that, you know, I think I even put this in the book. You know, like, a piece of paper can't tell you you're an idiot. Right. So if you're going, oh, I've just read this book and it's really got me thinking about such and such, and you're saying this to somebody else, subconsciously you'll be filtering it, because there's going to be some kind of, even in the best case scenario, you're going to feel that someone's going to judge what you say based on that. The idea of journaling in the book is, because the piece of paper can't judge you, it can't tell you you're silly, it can't tell you that you're big-headed or whatever. It gives you a real opportunity to be as honest as possible with yourself. And when I'm talking about the insight, the only way we can get genuine insight is if we're genuinely honest with ourselves. So yeah, so I'm a massive advocate of journaling anyway. And I just figured that, you know, I wanted this book to be contextualized to the reader. And so the best way to do that was to give space for the reader to write in it. Now, the audio book's obviously a different kettle of fish. Yeah. But as you're probably aware, you know, there's a whole heap of online resources that they can go and grab anyway at the website for the book. So you can just get loads of different reflections and loads of different tools there, which you can use in your day-to-day life as well. So
thank you. Anybody got any questions? Quick question for Dan.
What was that? Where do we get the book? Yeah. So
yeah, that's the best question. I was going to end with that, but if there's no questions, where do I buy it?
Everywhere. Well, I say everywhere. I'm not sure what the chain of bookstores are in Korea, but I'm going to guess that you can get on Amazon or whatnot. But yeah, typically, all the major bookstores seem to be carrying it. And as I say, wherever you get ebooks, you can get it on Kindle, ebooks, and as I say, the audiobook dropped today. So it's available wherever you get good or bad books.
And of course, people can go to your website as well and join in and subscribe and do all the cool things and get you out to speak and obviously engage with you in many different ways too.
Yes, I've just put on the in the chat box there actually a few. Excuse me, sorry, a few links. You're right. I've been talking all day and I'm starting to lose my voice. But yeah, you can connect with me anywhere there. You can get the book through those sites, and there's a podcast that you might be interested in as well if you're into this kind of stuff. So yeah.
Well, thanks, Dan. We're going to let you go, and I really appreciate your time. It's really nice to see you, and best of wishes with your book, which I think is already hitting like #1 bestseller and doing great out there.
Yeah, prior to Christmas, it was the #1 Australian business title, so that was pretty exciting. And my mantra is I think it's because it's about people, not business. You know, it's about the human element of teams, and it's not about just the work or the performance. It's about the stuff between us. So yeah, that's been really cool. So it'll be interesting to see if it continues.
Well, hopefully it does. I mean, for me, the shift conversations are really invaluable, and there's so much to learn from reading the book. So hopefully everybody goes out and gets their own copy. But
one for a friend.
But that's right. But there's one in my office. So should you need, you can come and borrow it too.
All right. Well, thanks for your support. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate your time too. So you take care and thanks so much.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.